Hello everyone, and this video will cover solving a news vendor problem that we have discussed in a class using one time without at risk and one time with at risk. So if you want to see the solution with at risk, please scroll probably 10, 12 minutes forward and you will get the solution with at risk. So this template is also available in your course website. What we have is that source of uncertainty here is demand, which is between is a uniform integer between 65 and 115. What I'm going to do, I'm going to generate instance of demand that is going to be equal to rand between 65 and 115. As I discussed in the class, we are not going to insert fixed numbers in our formulas. It's a bad spreadsheet management practice, all right? Now, every time I press F9, I'm going to get a different number for demand. Now, next we are going to create calculate demand and associated with these setup that we have right here. Demand is going to be equal to sales, which is minimum of inventory, F4, comma, demand, that is my sales, times my full price, F4, all right? That is going to be my revenue from full price. Next, leftover inventory. There are at least three different ways of finding leftover inventory. One of them is with max function, the other one with min function, the other one with if statement. The one that I'm going to whichever you're comfortable with. Rule of thumb is that I try to avoid if statement because it becomes harder and harder to interpret it, especially if you have nested ifs. But right now in this problem, you can use the if statement as well. I'm going to use it. I'm going to calculate leftover inventory with max function, maximum of 0 and inventory F4 minus demand. Now, if the inventory is more than demand, then we are going to have leftover inventory. If inventory is less than demand, leftover inventory is going to be equal to 0. And then revenue from salvage is going to be equal to from salvage markdown times leftover inventory. All right. And the profit is going to be equal to revenue from full price plus revenue from salvage, both revenues, right? Minus what? Minus cost F4 times inventory 100. All right. That is going to be profit. That is right here is one scenario of a scenario with demand equal to 96. You can have demand much higher than that, let's say 112 or lower than that, right? For each of those, you are going to have one profit. So that's one scenario. Now, I want to see if I want to find a roughly average profit, I'm going to generate more than one instance of demand. So in this specific template, I have room for 500. So I'm going to drag it down to 500. You can copy formula and paste the formula. You can double click on, let me get rid of this. This was from previous attempt. All right. Now I have 500 instance of demand and associated 500 instance of profit. How can I find average profit? It's going to be equal to average of these profit values. All right. If you get a number around 1890, 1910, 20, you'll be fine. All right. You see that number stays around that range. And of course, the average profit is here is X bar. Average profit is a random number itself. All right. I'm going to, if I want to get idea about a distribution profit, I'm going to plot histogram of profit right here. Insert and histogram right here, right there you have histogram of profit. Every time I press F9, I'm going to get a different instance of or I'm sorry, different group of 500 instance of demand, and shape of histogram is going to change slightly. However, the general form is not going to change. First, you are going to have several bars that are almost same height, and then there's going to be one tall bar. That one tall bar is associated with situations where demand is more than your inventory. All of those, they are going to have same profit level, and that's why you have that tall bar. All right. Now, this is one Monte Carlo simulation. All right. There is one problem that we have here that I haven't answered, and that is average sales. Well, you can create another column here, which is going to be minimum of inventory and demand. That's going to be sales of 500 sales values. Find their average. This is This is fine, but as you see, if I want to run, if I want to generate if I do want to do Monte Carlo simulation with 10,000 rows, I have to drag this down for 10,000 rows, or use some sort of data tables. Those are all possibilities that we are going to explore throughout the semester. But at risk enables us to do same thing in a much cleaner, nicer way. All right. So in the second tab, that's what we are going to do. We are going to do Monte Carlo simulation. We are going to do replicate same thing with this time with at risk. All right. Let's run at risk. At risk is going to open as a tab in Excel right here. If you are using Citrix, then also that is also possible. Just to run Citrix and you'll be just fine. Let's see when. All right, there we go. So inventory here was 100. So let me fix that. 100. Yep. And at risk opens as a tab in Excel. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to generate samples of demand. How we are going to do it? Well, inputs to or uncertain input to our model is a demand, which I know it is a uniform integer between 65 and 115. So let me go to sample demand distribution. Now you see that there are different kinds of distributions. If I go to all, you are going to see blue ones and the red ones. If you go to continuous, discrete, you see discrete ones are red and continuous ones are blue. All right. This demand is discrete, integer, uniform. So int uniform. You see that they have same height of bars. I'm going to select that. Now minimum is I can type 65 here. This is fine. I'm gonna type 60. I can type 65 there. But let's get into a habit of using references. All right. I'm going to go to minimum of 60. What happened? What did I do? Let me try one more time. Distributions. Int uniform. Minimum of 65. Maximum of 115. And that's it. You see that the minimum on x-axis, you have minimum of 65, maximum of 115. And height is roughly about 1/51, which is slightly less than 2%. So I'm going to click OK. If you are not getting that blue color right there, beautiful blue color right there, it's because this cell right here, this button is not selected. Now make sure it's selected. It helps a lot to figure out where we have at-risk functions, input at-risk functions. You see that cell now there's a function there, risk int uniform of C7 and C8. Over time, I expect you to memorize these functions, all right? It's very, very easy. They are very, very intuitive. Now, the rest is pretty identical. The rest is pretty straightforward, identical to what we have done in the past with the previous with no at-risk modeling. Revenue is going to be equal to minimum of inventory and sample demand. You see that I'm not even doing those dollar signs because at least in this problem I don't need that. All right, I'm not going to drag down formula anywhere. Times full price. All right, full price. Leftover inventory is going to be equal to maximum of 0 and inventory minus demand. My revenue from salvage is going to be leftover inventory times markdown, and profit is going to be equal to revenue from full price plus revenue from salvage minus my cost, which is cost times my inventory. All right, and that's it. Now I need to, you see that the rest is pretty much building logical model. It is identical to what we have done in the previous worksheet. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell at risk, listen, this is my performance metric. I care about that performance metric. All right, this is going to be in this output. I'm going to select that cell and then go to output and call it profit. All right, you can call it whatever you want, profit week 1, week 2, whatever you want to call it. All right, and you see that the color is going to change to a different color. This is a at-risk way of saying, listen, the blue one is your input randomness, and the red ones are performance metrics that I'm keeping track of them. All right. And I'm sure you notice that in formula bar, there is another new function added to your formula, and that is a risk output with the name of output and profit. The mathematically value of that function is zero. You don't need to worry about it. That is not going to mess up your calculations. That is just at risk way of saying, keeping track of or communicating with itself that this is my output. This is the output cell. Keep track of this cell. All right. Now, in the previous model, we run this cell for we copy the formula for 500 or 500 instances of demand. I'm gonna put 500 iterations there, number of simulations 1. All right, making sure that multiple CPU is disabled. This in this small problem, it is, we don't need it, and that's it. So let's simulate and get the results. What did I do? This is not right. This is not right. Probably you are gonna see a different let's see, why isn't this? I think previously what happened was that I played with the range of this. Let me see what happened was in the previously browse results. All right, and see, there we go. Yeah, it is. I by mistake I changed the range. I gotta fix it now. Sorry, it's gonna let me pause the recording. I'm gonna be back. All right. All right. So what happened was that previously, I this is the second time I'm recording the video. Previously, by mistake during recording, first of all, video didn't go well. There was a background noise, so that's why I recorded again. And secondly, what happened was that by mistake I changed the range of x-axis. Now I'm going to show you the. Wait. I gotta go a bit more. Come on, no, not that. There we go. So you are going to see something like this. You see that the histogram is similar to what we have created in the previous worksheet, right? And also on top of that, minimum observed that profit, maximum, mean, 90% confidence interval, and so on and so forth, right? It also, if you want to figure out what is the probability that, or an approximation of probability that demand is going to be between that number and, oh, again, I messed it up again. So there we go. Demand is gonna be between or I'm sorry, profit is gonna be between 1,447 and 2,112. That right there is probability is a 45%. So if you want to type in these numbers, you can type here as well, 2,000 and let's say 1,400. Come on, 1,400. There is a roughly about 41.2% probability that your profit is going to be between 1,400 and $2,000. All right. You see that it gives you it makes your life a lot easier, and by hiding unnecessary details in the background. All right. There's nothing we can do with with at risk that we cannot do with Excel itself or without at risk, but it just makes our lives a lot easier. Now, we have started this problem. That is simulation. We are done there. All right. However, there's one tiny topic left. Not so tiny topic left. I want to cover that, and that is who says inventory of 100 is the right level of inventory? What if I want to compare profit of associated with inventory of 100 with inventory of 95? Well, you can put 95 here one time, get the results, put 1,000, get the results, and that's possible, but that creates a little bias because you are generating different set of random numbers for each one of those replications. But one feature of at risk, one more thing that we are going to do in about 4 weeks is we can answer those questions possibly with simulation optimization. But another way of answering that question is using a function called the risk sim table. I'm going to show you how we can do that. Again, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to see how my profit might change by changing how my average profit might change by changing levels of inventory. So I'm going to put those inventory levels in a table, inventory levels. All right. I'm going to, let's say, make sure, yeah, these are all good. Let's say I want to see how profit is, average profit varies from 95 to 101, 102, 103, and 104, right? Let's say, let's add 105 as well. How my profit is going to change, average profit is going to change if my inventory levels, that right now it's at 100, if it varies from all the way from 95 to 105. All right, now I put all of those values in one column. Do I have to go one up every time? No, you can say 95, 98, 101, 110. It doesn't have to. It could be, it doesn't have to be just, increments of one. It could be any increments or any pattern you like. It doesn't even have to have any pattern. All right. Now I need to tell at risk, listen, go select the inventory levels from this table, put them here, do the simulation, and report the results. All right. And the way we are going to do it is using a function called the risk sim table. Risk sim table of these values. All right. And it is going to select the very first value, 95, and put it there. All right. Again, you see that it changed the color saying, hey, there is an input risk function, at risk function there. Now, how many of these values do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? How many simulations I'm going to do? 11, right? And here's the thing: do I have to stay with 500? Yes, you can. You don't have to. You can stay at 500. You can change it. Let's just change it to, I don't know, 800. All right. Why? There is no mathematical reason. I just changed it. All right. And what this is going to do? This is going to run simulation 11 times. Every time it is going to use 800 instances of demand, but those 800 instances of demand are going to be unique. They are going to be the same, identical for each of these 11 simulations, just to avoid a bias that might be introduced to average profit because of having different instance of demand for each of these simulations. All right. Now, with that in mind, we are going to make sure this is disabled. We don't need that. And let's simulate. You are going to see that it's going to say simulation 1 out of 11, 2 out of 11, 3. So every time it is running one simulation, right? So once it gets to 11, we are going to get all the results. All right. There we go. Now we have all the results. How do I know which which how can I get distribution of profit for each of these inventory levels? Well, you see that now there is something called sim1. All right, that is for inventory level of 95. Also on the lower left corner there is a select simulation to display. All right, now it has simulation 1 to 11. If I want to see this histogram of profit for inventory level of 96, I'm going to select simulation 2. All right, if I want to see it for inventory level of 105, I'm going to go with simulation 11. All right, you see that the histogram changes. Can I see all of them at the same place? Yeah, sort of. All right, so let's give it a try. I'm going to say all simulations, and if this works, it is going to show 11 columns here. So let's see if we have those 11 columns. All right, we are not going to see 11 of them, but let's try. All right, you see that we have 10 of them. Simulation 1 to 10. By default, when you select all simulations, it is going to show first 10 columns. All right, so this is simulation 1 is for inventory level of 95, simulation 2 is for inventory level of 96, and simulation 10 is for inventory level of 104. All right, now how can I see the 11th one for 105? You can select give me simulation 11. All right, but let me see if I can copy and paste average profit from here. Average profits. All right, not copy selection. Let me see if this is going to let me. Every version is slightly different. Paste is special. Nah, no, that's not what I want. All right, it's okay. Control X. Now I'm going to say, listen, paste. Why isn't this? Give me a second, guys. I want to make sure that I can, there we go. I have those values, right? I just want to grab them, Control X, and here, why doesn't this allow me with paste special? I don't know why this is not allowing me with paste special, quite frankly. Copy. All right. Let me put them somewhere else. I'm sorry. Let me put them somewhere else. I really don't know why this is giving me a hard time, but it's okay. Copy, paste special, and transpose, and that's it. Now I have profit values of first 10 simulations. All right. And now for the 11th ones, I'm going to go here and say at risk, um, browse results. For simulation number 11, what is the average profit? Is that number. Copy selection and right there, paste. All right. Now, if I want to plot these, I can say, you know what? Fine, 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 fine. Let me just play with this a little bit. There we go. I'm going to call that right there profit levels, right? Select the whole, these two columns, insert, and there you go. On the x-axis, you have values of inventory levels. On the y-axis, you have profit levels. It looks like by increasing, going from 95 all the way up, my profit levels is increasing. Again, visually, it looks like it's plateauing, and probably we need to run simulation for 106, 7, and 8, and probably the profit is going to keep going down. Looks like it is going to plateau at roughly at max at around 106 or 107. All right. Now that was just our very first problem we saw with at risk. We saw how we can use the risk sim table. I hope this was helpful. All right. I will see you guys in class.